Now, I saw someone identifying as an MRA come out on a comment section and claim that if the men's rights movement pursues government-funded domestic violence shelters for men, that this was a deal breaker for him and that he couldn't put his support behind this movement because taxation is inherently criminal behavior. Now, this of course is absolutely ridiculous. If you can't support the men's movement or an MRA for simply working within a system that already taxes us for female domestic violence shelters, because some MRA is trying to pursue an equitable share of these tax dollars, then quite frankly, the men's movement doesn't need you. And no, the person pursuing these taxpayer-funded men's shelters is not a cultural Marxist, is not a collectivist, or any other of these ridiculous terms. Again, nobody's saying that you have to agree with what he's doing. And nobody's saying that it'll even work. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But under this ridiculous logic, if you're an MRA that supports a taxpayer-funded military, that's a deal breaker. Tax-funded police and firemen, that's a deal breaker. You see, this is the type of nonsense that I've seen too much of in the men's rights movement, and I want absolutely no part of it. My position is clear. If you're ready to work with others towards an issue that men face, and if I agree with it, I'll extend to you my assistance. If I don't, I won't, and I'll leave it as a simple disagreement in tactics unless I can clearly point out some overwhelming evidence that your actions are actually going to directly harm men instead of help them. And lastly, we should understand the unique relationship between the state and the female human being that allows for the control of the male human being. I want to bring up this article because it's going to help us get a little bit of context about how this relationship forms and the dynamics that contribute to it. This is an article that describes how in two different parts of the world, Brazil and India, cultures that couldn't be any more different, researchers noted a remarkable drop in fertility and a rise in divorce rates corresponding with the regions where these two developing countries were developing most rapidly. But the interesting part was that it wasn't just any type of development that seemed to catalyze this change. It was actually the regions where women were gaining access to cable television for the first time. And this was only going on where Brazilian telenovelas and Indian soap operas featured empowered, career-minded Brazilian and Indian women, where only 21% of them, of the women featured in these shows, had children. This is what we're dealing with. It's no secret that women control a vast sum of the total wealth of any advanced or newly developing country. And in these newly developing countries, surprise, surprise, they also control the political landscape, pretty much wherever they have suffrage. And unfortunately, apparently, women are so stupid that their destinies can be dramatically swayed en masse by a simple soap opera. This is what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with ridiculous conspiracies. We're dealing with the fact that conditions are such that women have taken advantage of a set of conditions that allows them to do what they do. And those conditions are in place because men simply have refused to say enough is enough. They have allowed their biology to dictate to them their interactions with women. Men are giving women essentially whatever they ask for, and then they're going around looking for every other boogeyman to blame other than themselves, women, and the state. This civilization is an unstoppable force on a form of biological cruise control, on a collision course with an immovable object. And all we can say is that the big evil government did it. And our plan to fix it is we're going to elect more politicians. But these politicians are different. They want to shrink the government because government's too big, and then women won't be able to be mean to us anymore. This is the best we can do? This fucking nonsense? Again, why did the government get to this point in the first place? This is the question we refuse to view honestly. Instead we dream up communists and socialists lurking behind every shadow and under every rock. We take some insignificant bullshit about the Frankfurt School or some other ridiculous conspiracy, and we overinflate the influence and political clout they had to damn near mythical proportions in order to explain away the fact that we got ourselves here. We did this to ourselves. We did this to ourselves because we refuse to look at the way men and women interact without diluting the shit out of ourselves with every little romantic fairy tale that falls short of the ruthless, calculating evolutionary struggle that men and women have always been in and will always be in. That's all I gotta say for now. More to come.